get into the whole presence thing? Because like here we are, I'm talking to you, Laura, on this podcast, and it's a little abstract since we're speaking. I'm talking at my computer right now, but this is it. This is all we've got, and this will. The cool thing is this will show up in some way, shape, or form in the future for people listening around the country, around the world. Who knows? But what's really happening is you and I talking at our computers.
Yes. This is so true. It's amazing to think about that right this moment. And you know what? I have to admit to you, I'm having a really good time in my moment right now.
I am as well.
That's what counts, right? And you know what? In all seriousness, the energy that we bring to this conversation is what people will feel later when they are listening. And so that's pretty cool. I think that's a small miracle.
I do too. Yeah, I think that's a cool thing. And that reminds me of like a very, very important spiritual and a creative writerly tenet that is energy, cultivating your own energy and your own enthusiasm. I think that's so important. I feel like there's kind of a lack of energy and enthusiasm in the world. It's so easy to get beat down by what's going on in the world, politically and in society. And yet we're responsible for taking up the mantle of spiritual enthusiasm and dynamic creative insight. It's our responsibility. It's not somebody else, especially not somebody else in Washington or wherever, to do that. We have to be the agents of change. And that can be a little harrowing, but it can also be exciting.
Really exciting. I agree with you. We're either moving into the world with a energy of healing and love, or we're not. And so we always have a choice. With awareness, we've got the choice to, speak in a certain way, think in a certain way, act in a certain way. It's a very powerful idea. That's why this practice is, I don't know, it's why it turns me on so much. It can create transformation, shift, miracles. It can create magic, seriously.
Absolutely.
So, I want to make sure to get through this last piece. And what I wanted to say to you was that many of my students are afraid of writing and journaling into their pain. Yes. They say they don't want to relive it. They don't want to get stuck in there again. And I want to read a few things from the book and then have you comment on them. Sure. So bear with me here. There's a couple of short paragraphs. I have a few really important passages I want to read and tie together for my listeners. So you say, your potential for transformation in this lifetime is infinite. A courageous act of presence, a gesture of release, and staying present with your sensory experience and bodily sensations is key. Writing from the body means to re-identify with your original self. It means to reaffirm your permeability with the elements. Writing as a path to awakening invites you to write from the place beneath familiar thought patterns and rational conditioned experience. This means writing quick and dirty, dark and scary, fresh and empowering, full of insight and possibility. There's no time for the dusty voices of judgment and critique. No room for teacherly correctives. It's time to be edgy and alive. The moment has come to be creatively unpredictable. Time to wake up and write into your unique, elemental, bodily wildness. And finally, a little later in your final chapter, after telling that crazy story about the guy who fell into the crevasse, oh my God, you say, down is where we find the opening. When things sometimes feel bleak and hopeless, that's where we find the light. So, tell me about how to help my writers go there and not be afraid of being stuck there.
Well, two things about that. I mean, again, I think it's really important if you are writing, if you do have a history of trauma, a history of abuse or abandonment, some real heavy emotional stuff, PTSD stuff, it's really important to work with a professional therapist and go gently into this territory. And also, experiment, explore, and write in cautiously at first, and see what comes up. Don't be afraid, as Michael Beckwith says. Don't be afraid of the dark. You know, the dark is there as the portal of transformation. And I think a lot of us are just like, we just want to push it away. It can be too terrifying. But a good guide is essential. And you'd be surprised what you see in the dark. When you start to bring a little glimmer of your own light to guide you. We're much more resilient than we think. I was not long for this world at a certain point, and I was drinking myself to death. I wound up woke up handcuffed to a hospital bed with no idea how I got there at a certain point in my life, and so there was darkness. There was a lot of darkness to work through, and writing. I found solace in the writing. I found solace in the poetry. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have any answers per se, but I knew that this writing thing healed me in some way. It was healing me. That just to be able to express, to let the words out, it was like a release. It was like a cleansing of the body. It's sort of like if you think about with grief, grief is really difficult to feel. And yet when you surrender to it and you give yourself to just the full-on bodily sobbing and just feeling into that loss, it's this, when you finally recompose, there's like this cleansing. There's like, oh, wow. It's almost like an internal, cleansing is just the word that's coming to mind.
Yeah, it's a good word.
So don't be afraid. As I said in one of my workshops, I think, don't be afraid to be afraid. Mm-hmm. Be willing to be afraid and face the page anyways.
Yes.
Feel the fear and do it anyways, because you're not alone. We're all feeling it.
And you said a moment ago, you'll be surprised what you'll see in the dark. Mm-hmm. I love that. That's another quote I've written down for you. I love it. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being here and for that amazing conversation. These are words that are going to change the world. Listeners, you're going to find Albert at albertflynndesilver.com. ALBERT, as in Frank, LYNNDESILVER. You got it there. albertflynndesilver.com. And please go check out his books and retreats and all the different amazing things that he's doing in the world. And many of you know that poetry turns me on, and I think it turns Albert on too. And that I like to end these shows, and I'm going to invite Albert to make a final comment after he hears this one, but I like to end my shows by reading you a poem. And this one feels special because it was written the other night after I read your book, and it was when you asked us to imagine our emotion as a creature. Oh, I loved it. So everybody settle in for just one moment, relax, take a breath, and feel this poem today. It's called If My Love Were a Creature. My love easily eagles wings, floating high and free, lifted by the wind, skimming the sea, pouncing on its prey when she's hungry. My love, one of those big birds with another perspective, gliding through her day, perching to rest, playing in air currents, making her nest in sequoia tops, safe from the world, touched by the sunrise, an easy place to learn how to fly. My love's an eagle, powerful leader, born with her place in the sky, reaching the moon and stars. She survives when her wings keep her up, when she can take off only when she's not tethered to the earth. My love easily eagles wings, stealth, powerful, instinctual grace, the space between heaven and earth, the place my wild heart lives, has tea and secrets with my soul. If my love were a creature, she'd be an eagle for sure, the only bird worthy of a poem about this, a symbol of strength and the spirit of a woman made for bliss, joy, vision, a kiss that feels like 1,000 flights, lifetimes of unfurling, a 6-foot span and then some. Love's outstretched like that, at its best when it's doing what it was born for, teaching our souls to soar like an eagle. Albert, thank you for that prompt.
Wow.
I
Laura,
loved
that's
it.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I love that
Fantastic.
prompt.
And I just want to say thank you so much for a very just dynamic, wonderful conversation. And I got to say, I've done a lot of interviews, and not that many people. You can sort of tell when people have read the book and when they haven't really. And I just so appreciate your appreciation and your enthusiasm. It's very sweet and lovely. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It was amazing to have you, and it was amazing to read your book. You guys go buy Writing as a Path to Awakening. It's on Amazon. And again, find Albert at albertflynndesilver.com. And to all my brave healers out there, if you're ready to start sharing your messages with the world in a bigger way, take advantage of grabbing a free call with me. I'm good at inspiring you with that kind of stuff. You're going to find that at the top of my website at bravehealer.com. And remember to come find me on Facebook too, because I'm addicted to Facebook. Brave Healer by Laura DeFranco. My new book, Brave Healing, A Guide for Your Journey, is out. It was released by Possibilities Publishing Company on June 1st. I'm super excited about that. Maybe there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything. This is that book. And if you all happen to be in the DC area, put August 11th on your calendar and join me for a book talk workshop, poetry, open mic extravaganza at Johnny Pistola's from 7 to 10 p.m. This event is hosted by Love, Pain, and Poetry, and you will find that page also on Facebook. Make sure and come join me for some more conversations, Brave Healers, everything. Find us at the Brave Healers Mastermind and Refuge, and I'm always ready to inspire you to share your message. So our next Brave Healing conversation is going to be Wednesday, July 4th of July, noon Eastern time, when I'm going to be talking with Julia Carmen, the founder of the Knowing Within Retreats. Julia calls herself a seer of the soul, and you are not going to want to miss that powerful conversation. Until then, remember, you were born, so you're worthy. Your message matters. What if the very pain you're afraid to share is the exact thing that will change someone's life for the better? It's time to be brave.
Radio.